Thought Bubble Audio.
Look, up in the sky!
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Welcome to Beer with Geeks with Tim and Frank.
Who are you?
I'm Batman.
I am Iron Man.
Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Hi, Christopher. I'm Nero.
My name is Inigo Montoya.
You're a wizard, Harry.
A couple of guys with a couple of beers and a whole lot of pop culture nostalgia.
Make it so, number one.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Beatles.
Name the dog in the animal.
Life finds a way.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Now sit back and crack open a cold one, because it's time for Beer with Geeks.
It comes in paints?
Shaken, not stirred.
Great Scott!
I was way off. I knew it started with an S, though.
Hi, and welcome to Beer with Geeks, where two geeks geek out with beer. I'm Tim, and with me, as always, is my fanfic friend Frank. How are you today?
I am fanfictastic.
Oh, that's wonderful, Frank. I'm so happy to hear that.
I am happy to be here in the same room with you recording a podcast.
I'm happy to be here in the same room as you as well. This is so exciting because it doesn't happen as much as we would like it to.
That's right.
Because you left me and moved away.
I did. I moved.
To
I moved
start
north.
your life in Kansas.
Yep.
North of where we are.
Correct. Definitely north.
North, definitely north.
We have a really good OPSEC. Yeah, but we're drinking beer.
We are drinking beer. What are you drinking?
I am drinking a Flying Dog Belgian style IPA. It's got a little bit of a crude name.
Oh, yeah?
Raging Bee. Raging Bish.
Raging Bee. Raging R2D2 sound.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. That is right.
Excellent.
That is correct, sir. And what do you got there?
What do I have here? I have a Victory beer. It is a Summer Love Ale. It's got a bit of citrusy hops, lemon and pine kind of taste to it. It is pretty good. When you were a kid, did you used to chew on pine needles at all?
Yes, actually.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, that's weird. You did that too.
I did that too.
Why did we do that?
I don't know.
Wait, there was a giant pine tree. I mean, probably like close to 100 feet tall in my front yard, like my whole life growing up. Yeah, thing was huge. And yes, I would sometimes.
And you would chew on
as a
some
small
pine
child.
needles.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I had pine trees in the back of my yard.
Okay.
I don't know if you knew this. So if you looked on the map from where I lived, the woods directly behind my house was Sherwood Forest.
Oh,
on the
you
map.
may have told me that a long time ago.
I think so. So there were a lot of pine trees.
Sure.
As there are in Sherwood Forest, I guess.
Yeah, right, exactly.
But we used to just pick up pine needles or take them off the trees and just chew on them like we were chewing on straw because we were from Kansas.
Because you were little kids and you hadn't had a gin and tonic yet, but you kind of knew you were craving the taste.
Gin and tonic. Yeah.
It tastes
tastes like a Christmas tree.
It tastes like a Christmas tree.
Yeah. Do you think we like gin and tonics because we chewed on pine needles?
Maybe that's the secret.
Do you think we're like the way we are because we chewed on pine needles?
That for sure, I think is true. Because we were just like 8 years old and like sitting under a pine tree, chewing its needles and reading a comic book in the shade. Like
that is it's so accurate. Getting sap.
yeah, exactly. All over your
us.
fingers, all over the book.
Ugh, yeah.
Like sappy pages that are stuck together.
You probably read some Superman comics underneath that pine tree, didn't you?
No, I didn't. I didn't want to sit in the front yard and read with people driving by and
No, I would have sat
backyard.
inside because I was a nerd.
Well, or it's in the backyard where
In the backyard.
privacy. But
that's right.
And you had pine trees in the backyard.
We
so
did.
You could do that.
We used to make forts out of old comforters. We would string ropes between trees, and then we would just hang make it kind of a tent kind of thing.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun, except that the bugs also liked to go inside the tent.
That's the downside.
It is a downside.
Yeah.
But anyway, so you read some comic books, and I read some comic books, and let's talk about those comic books. But specifically, I thought that we haven't had you make a list in quite a while.
Yeah.
One of your favorite tasks.
One of my favorite things to do. One of my favorite chores. Putting things into lists. Yeah. Let's do this.
All right. So I thought our 5 favorite Superman writers, because you're a big Superman fan.
Yes.
I appeal to your taste.
Thank you. I appreciate
that. Because if I ask for your 5 favorite Batman writers or Spider-Man writers per se, I feel like you might have a little bit more of a challenge.
with Spider-Man, I might be able to do it, and with Batman to a point. But definitely, I'm more well versed in Superman than anything else.
Absolutely. So we'll appeal to you first.
Thank you.
Next time we'll do our favorite Plastic Man writers.
That
and then
sounds totally.
I know all of them.
I bet you. There's probably only been 4 of them.
That's maybe. Tom Taylor, Gail Simone.
Gail Simone wrote Plastic Man?
She's writing a Plastic Man miniseries right now.
I'm all over that.
Yeah.
Dude, I will read. I mean, I'll read like almost anything she does, but like that's amazing.
Yeah, isn't that great?
That's so cool.
Yeah, I think Aaron Leprestri is doing the art. I think.
Oh, I like him.
Yeah, I do too. Underrated.
Yes, agreed.
Underrated.
But like he works a lot.
A lot.
Yeah.
It's just he's got that like Peter J. Tomasi kind of like, you're consistently good, yet why don't we laud you for it?
I feel like it's the ones who are the artists in general, and I don't just mean art like comic book artists, but I mean just like creators of all art in general are the ones who are the most consistent or are the most overlooked because they are so consistent.
Yes, I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Which is a shame.
Absolutely. So we probably have some overlap with our writers.
We must.
So let's not do them in like, this is my number 1. This
is
my number 2.
Let's not do that.
It's just generically top 5 somewhere in the vicinity.
Okay.
And so that way, if we like, oh well, that's my number 2, so I can't talk about it yet. You know, it's just whatever. So let's just do first name on your list, and then we'll see if he's also or she's also on my list.
First name on my list. Okay.
Okay.
Well, first name on my list is probably the one that we're both going to have, which is Jeff Johns.
Jeff Johns is on my list.
Right.
He's actually also the first one on my list.
Okay.
Too, so.
I mean, he's the first one that comes to my mind because he's probably my favorite comic book writer, period.
You know, I was just thinking about that too, because it almost feels like when you say like your favorite, like let's say your favorite director is Steven Spielberg or something like that. It almost feels like a weird answer because it's
so
like,
basic.
It's basic.
Yeah.
But that's because they're the best.
Yeah.
It's actually because they're one of the best.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Jeff Johns is one of the best in the biz.
Yeah. Even his most mediocre stuff is still sometimes way better than what other people put out.
Still pretty good.
Yeah. I'm actually reading his Hawkman book right now.
Nice. How is that?
It's good. It's really good.
And
he was working with James Robinson,
right?
Actually, and they were plotting it together, and he was doing the words. So you can like feel him coming into his own because it was one of the first books he did at DC.
That's cool.
It's really, really cool.
They worked together quite a bit over the years, didn't they? Because then they worked on Superman for a little while, and
JSA.
That's right, JSA.
Yeah, for a while.
Right.
So it's crazy. So why is Jeff Johns one of your favorite Superman writers?
I love the way Jeff Johns weaves together the old comic book lore. You know, when it comes to like what Krypton was like and Superman's origins and all this stuff. He weaves together the old comic book lore with the Richard Donner stuff, right? And he and this is the thing that he's well known for doing. Is
he did it with Richard Donner.
He did it.
In some
he wrote
cases,
it with Richard Donner.
Last Son of Krypton,
just Last Son. Last Son.
Yep.
Last Son. Right there on the shelf. Yeah, that was a good example. But yes, he is good at weaving together different continuity and making a new one out of whole cloth that feels like it's a good compromise for people who are fans of both pre-existing pieces, right?
Yeah.
So he manages to weave it in where you don't feel like you're missing anything. You're like, oh, but he took out this part of the story that I like. Oh, no, he kind of didn't. Like, he manages to keep the best parts of both things and make something new out of them.
Yeah, he's accessible to new readers that way because they recognize some story elements that they might be familiar with.
Right.
Like,
everyone knows Superman has the Fortress of Solitude.
Exactly.
Everyone,
or at least this is what the fortress looks like, or this is where it comes from.
Yes.
Or this is what Jor-El looks like when he talks to Superman in the fortress, something like that. And then you just see those things spring up. I mean, that's what Jeff Johns does, period. He makes outmoded, outdated, uninteresting, not all these applying to Superman.
No, I understand.
But like he takes obscurity and turns it into popularity.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a really nice way of putting it. I mean, maybe the best example of that is not even a Superman example, but like just the simple thing of turning Green Lantern's yellow weakness and fear and making it something truly epic and actually scary and actually like that has some stakes and that holds together in a story.
I agree.
Is like one of the most amazing accomplishments that he has probably ever had.
We're still feeling story repercussions from Green Lantern Rebirth.
Yeah.
In a way that like writers are still just not, I wouldn't say copying, but they're just building on something that he built for years.
Even just the fact that the new wave of DC titles was called Rebirth. Even
Right.
just that.
Right,
You know, they're still
exactly.
using that brand name.
That started with him.
Right.
They're just doing what he did because it works, and it works so well. And it worked well with Superman. Actually, his Legion of Superheroes story is one of the only ones where I'm like, oh, okay, the Legion, I get it.
It's the only Legion book I own. It's the
Yeah.
only Legion book I own, and it's for somebody who doesn't like the Legion very much, it's good. Mm-hmm. It's good. I think so it's that tying together of different elements. That I think is what what he does so well for Superman, and that he really nails every supporting character. And I really care a lot about those Daily Planet supporting characters.
Agreed.
I really, really
I
love
care
them.
about them as much as I do Superman.
Yeah, and so I really appreciate how well he handles them too.
I agree. Superman Secret Origin is one of the best Superman books out there for making you understand character point of view.
Yes.
Why people think the way they do about Superman, and why Superman feels the way he does about himself.
Yep.
It's great. It's wonderful. All right, so that's Jeff Johns. I'll do one from my list.
Who you got?
A name we've already mentioned, Peter Tomasi.
Oh, so great.
Is one of my favorite writers, never mind one of my favorite Superman writers, because he doesn't get a lot of enough because he's consistent across every book that he's ever done, but he understands character voice in a way that a lot of writers kind of can generically write. You know, like everybody's quippy or everybody's serious,
right.
or everyone's heroic and responds this way or whatever. But he understands individuality.
He writes every character differently.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And his Superman stuff over the past couple of years has been terrific. And I wouldn't say I was exactly against John Kent, the son of Clark and Lois, but it took some getting used to, and it was only under Peter Tomasi that I was like, oh, I get it now.
Yeah.
Actually, and it was actually Peter Tomasi that made me like Damian, too.
Oh, sure.
Because Damian under Grant Morrison, I mean, he's had a real character develop, real growth, but a lot of that came from Tomasi.
Yeah. I can see that.
Yeah.
I can totally see that.
Unbelievably good at the breadth of characters. Plus, his Death of Superman film is incredible.
So good. I really, really enjoyed that film.
Me too.
I really, really did. We could do a whole episode on that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think I'd like to watch it again if we did.
I would too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. That Who's Got Me, Who's Got You?
Yeah.
Bit in there. Oh. Anyway, yeah, Peter Tomasi is my next one. He's not on your list?
He wasn't on my list, actually, and I feel bad for because of what I just said. Because he's so consistent, I did overlook him, and I'm guilty of it.
I met him at New York Comic Con. Do you remember that? I think it might have been our first one.
I think so.
Maybe our second one. He was doing a panel with James Robinson and all that because they were on that.
Rocca, and,
right. They were that core group when we were first really started reading comics, and I remember just being in the crowd with him afterwards, and he made a comment to me. He's like, "Oh my God, all these people! I think this is like a fire hazard." And I was like, "Yeah, you're right on. It is a fire hazard.
It is a fire hazard."
Tomasi, you're right. You're right. Can I be your friend?
Yeah, your work is so good. We'd rather create a fire hazard than not be in the room with you.
Exactly. A friend of mine, Palmer. There's Palmer. Everyone knows Palmer. I feel like at this point,
I think so.
He just met Tomasi a couple weeks ago, and I was like, "Still a nice guy." He said, "Yep," and I said, "Yay,
yeah!"
I love it when people are nice people.
I know. And most of these comic book creators we've met really are.
I don't think there's one mean person on this list that I have so far.
No,
because I've met Jeff Johnson, he's nice. Met Peter Tomasi, and he's nice.
Yeah,
and I've got 3 more, and I've only met 1 more of them, and they were nice.
I haven't met most of these guys, but just in general, like whenever we have met comic book creators at cons, they're almost always really nice.
Almost always really nice.
And yeah,
I agree. All right, what's your next one?
Dan Jurgens.
Dan Jurgens is not on my list.
Okay, nice. So I feel like we traded Tomasi and Jurgens.
That was good.
I love Dan Jurgens. I mean, going back to Death of Superman, from the very beginning, like the very beginning, the early '90s, and like that seminal story. He's been on and off of the Superman books throughout the '90s and now again in the 2000s, and he has he has a very, I feel, a very specific sort of point of view on the character. That is it's very much in keeping with the John Byrne, origin of Superman, and even into today, when he's writing the character today, it's still in that same sort of spirit. It's not exactly the same Superman, but it's the same spirit and the same sort of, he's the last son of Krypton. He's got all this responsibility on his shoulders, like that specific brand of Superman. There's lots of different things within the character that you can focus on, but that piece of like, he's come from another planet and he's here to protect us, and he feels this duty and his weight and responsibility that he's happy to carry. Like it's not easy, but he's still happy to do it. It's something that I really like.
Easy to be me.
Doom.
I agree.
Yeah.
I like Dan Jurgens, but I don't love Dan Jurgens.
Okay.
He's not on my list because sometimes his writing feels a little antiquated.
I can understand that. I can appreciate that.
It just feels a little too 90s, I guess.
Okay.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
I think it's just a matter of taste.
Story pace, whatever
Sure.
it is.
Pacing, I can understand. Yes, for sure.
Yeah. So that's the only reason that he's not on my list.
Okay.
But I think he certainly gets the character, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think that's kind of my holdup.
Interesting. For me, I also really like. You mentioned Jonathan Young, Little John Kent with Tomasi, but I really like what Jurgens did with the character too.
Jurgens invented the character? ?
Yes.
Okay.
Because he did the I always forget what it was called, but the Lois and Clark.
It's not Last Vows, right?
No, because that's Spider-Man and Renew Your Vows.
Yeah.
We had this conversation once before on the show, and we did the same thing. Yeah, we did the same thing. But that mini series that ended up getting folded into continuity.
That's right.
That was Jurgens, and I think that's where John originated.
That's where John originated. That's right.
So I have a connection to to that. And I have ever since.
That makes total sense. Do you like John?
I like John a lot.
Okay.
At first I was unsure because I'm like, well, this is a big thing to introduce, and I very quickly fell in love with John.
That's good.
Yeah.
I think it's smart because the main core of comic book readers now are guys in their 20s, 30s, and 40s.
That's it.
Parents.
Yeah. Yes.
So if like someone who's 21, 22, like not sure about, that's not relatable to your core audience anymore.
Right.
And
I think it's a very smart move to give Clark that thing where he can relate to the audience on something that they're a shared experience that they have.
I never really agreed with that. Like, you got to make them young for the kids kind of thing. Because when we were kids, it's like Superman and Batman, like they've
always been 33.
They were always adults,
right?
Like that didn't make me want to be them any less.
Right.
It actually made me not want to be the sidekick or like Robin or whatever because like they were only a child.
Yeah, I think that they are going to probably have some trouble, the comic book industry, if they keep doing that, because sooner or later, like your readers are going to age out, and then who are you?
Yes.
How are you going to keep young people reading? Which I think is what they tried to do with the New 52 by making everybody like 25. And first day on the job type of stuff.
Well, no, I think what my point to that is that I don't think kids care what age they are.
Sure, I agree. I agree.
I think there are some heroes designed to be that way.
Yes.
And then others that it just doesn't matter. But you don't need your main antagonists to be kids for kids to get it. I mean, even when we were kids, the Power Rangers were supposed to be in high school, but they certainly seemed a lot older because they were a lot older.
They were, right.
But, I mean, the high school bit wasn't the good stuff.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, even something like the famous Jet Jackson, you remember that show?
Yeah.
The good stuff wasn't Jet Jackson or whatever. It was the,
It was the other stuff.
Whatever. Yeah, when he was being a super spy.
Yeah.
Something Stone.
I'm not going to remember it. I didn't watch it. I don't know.
Anyway, that's okay.
One look up? Do you care enough that you would look it up?
Yeah, I actually do care enough.
All right, there you go.
Yeah, the famous Jet Jackson.
But I know what you're saying. Yeah, like it doesn't matter how well. And you're right. There are some heroes that are designed that way.
Silverstone,
Alicia, Silverstone,
Maxwell, Silverhammer.
Anyway,
Anyway,
bong bong. I don't have a silver hammer, but I have a silver bell.
Thanks.
Silver bells. Nope, out of season. Can't do that. Sorry.
Out of season.
Yep.
There's a YouTube video of you singing that online. It's very nice.
Oh, yeah, I forgot to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, with your sister. It's
Yeah.
beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's so pretty.
Makes me cry every year.
That's weird. You shouldn't do that.
I don't, actually.
Okay, good.
All right.
So that was our little diversion. I'm gonna bring us back. Or is that everything you had to say on?
That was
on
everything I had to say on Jurgens, who
Okay.
was your list. So we're back.
Oh,
to,
yeah,
we're
I'm
back
sorry.
to me.
Yeah, that's back to
I
me.
was just going to let you do it.
No.
But
Thank you for calling me out on it.
all right, this is probably on both of our lists. Grant Morrison.
Of course, it's on both of our lists.
Excellent. I'm excluding his new 52 Action Comics run here.
So am I, because I have to
think-
take him off the list.
Right, because then I have to take him off because that was just crap.
Garbage.
It was garbage.
It was so bad.
I don't disagree with the Superman wears a T-shirt and like pants
You
kind
don't
of
disagree
thing.
with
I
that.
don't disagree with that.
Okay.
I think his storytelling method was a little too offbeat.
That was the thing that ultimately bothered me more. I was like, I rolled my eyes at the T-shirt and jeans, but I was like, whatever. We all know one lives doesn't matter. But I was already off put by that, but that the story wasn't very good.
I don't think it was very good.
No,
I
wasn't.
I don't think so either. But I think that his JLA Superman is very
Yes.
good, and I mean he's on the list alone for All-Star Superman.
That earns him like
the
a permanent
opus
place
of Superman
Yeah.
stories.
That earns him a permanent place on that list.
Absolutely.
That alone. And it really is. It is the Superman. I have the Absolute Edition over there.
You also have the statue.
I do have the statue. Yeah, that's right. It was based on the cartoon that you gave me.
Yeah.
But yeah, the All-Star Superman is the ultimate Superman story, because even people who don't like Superman read that book and they're like, okay, now I get Superman.
Exactly.
Like within the context of this story, I get Superman now.
Exactly. It can be a slightly offbeat, but not enough to dispel readers, I guess.
Yeah.
If that makes sense, like when Lex like everything's connected and blah blah blah. This is how he sees. Like I think it's just at the cusp of unbelievability.
Yes.
Or like the Superman from the future or stuff like that.
Yeah.
But there's some scenes in that book that it's like the 12 feats of Hercules or
Yes, it is.
12 feats of Hercules? 12? There are 12 of them? 12?
I don't
12?
remember.
12?
I don't
Jackal?
remember.
Jackal? Is it a jackal?
I'll use a look up for that. I mean,
Nah, it's okay. I'm pretty sure it's 12. Pretty sure it's 12.
I'm pretty sure it is too. You're making me doubt it now, but because you keep saying the number 12, so I'm like, 12 doesn't sound right anymore.
No,
but it sounded
6.
right when he started.
6 is good.
6 is good.
6 times 2 is good.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. So anyway, All-Star Superman.
But I get it. Yes, it's like an anthology or it's like little vignettes from his life, right? That like the Hercules.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's wrapped around the idea that Superman is dying.
Yes.
But then he has like these different tasks that show you the different aspects of Superman. So it encapsulates everything about the character in 12 issues.
Right.
Or whatever it is.
I think it was 12.
Is it 12 because there are 12 feats of Hercules?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's 12 in a maxi series.
Also that.
Yeah.
However,
Yeah.
I think it just all fits.
It's all connected.
Yes.
It's all connected. It's a fantastic story, and if you haven't read it, and especially if you don't like Superman, but I mean, even if you do, I was skeptical going in because I was like, this is the Superman book for non-Superman fans, so like I probably won't like it because I am a Superman fan. But no, it's good for everybody. It's just good.
Yeah.
It's just good all around.
It's just good.
It's fantastic.
Exactly. Who's next on your list?
Next on my list, Mark Millar. I'm never sure how to pronounce his
Mark
last name.
Millar is
Yeah.
not on my list.
Red Sun alone puts him on that list for me.
Yeah, he was on my list for that. And then I thought, well, he's not really like Superman in that. So
That's fair.
So I took him off.
I took off somebody else and put Millar on.
Oh.
Because and I'll get to this later. I have sort of an honorable mentions that where I can quickly list some names, but there's somebody else on there that had something that was even less qualified than Red Sun to be considered a Superman book, which I'll explain when we get there.
I think I know what you're
You might
talking
have an
about.
idea of what I'm talking about, but Red Sun is, I've said it many times, is the first graphic novel that I ever read. It like opened my mind, so like comic books can be more than just like Silver Age stories of Superman chasing around Mxyzptlk and making him say "Calypso" and disappearing. Like,
right.
It totally changed my whole perspective on comics. And I was admittedly late to the party, but I was a kid. What do you want?
Right.
And so it really, I like went to my comic book shop and was like saw one of the issues and was captivated by the cover. And I was like, "What is this?" And the guy was like, "Do you like Superman?" I was like, "Yeah." It's like, you're gonna lose your mind over this. And so I bought the first issue, and then I was hooked, and I bought the rest. But I absolutely love that book, and again, because of the inventive storytelling there, I put him on this list for that one story alone because it was so important to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm with you. It's an incredibly well detailed story that I guess in essence is still Superman. Like, he's still he's so recognizable just from almost like a funhouse mirror perspective,
right?
But he's like, so like I could argue that, say, like The Dark Knight Returns is a funhouse mirror version of Batman. Like, it's not really Batman. Like, he's a little more violent. He's very much more depressed than normal, so on and so forth. But he's still absolutely recognizable as that character.
Yes.
And so arguably Red Son is in that same vein. I love that story.
I love it so much.
Why haven't we seen that as an animated movie yet?
They did do a motion comic of it.
I remember.
That was horrible.
Horrible. It's no good.
So bad.
Motion comics are the worst.
They are, but that
you
motion
think
comic,
they're going to be fun, but they're just so slow
They're
moving.
not good. Yeah, no, they're not. But that motion comic was better than the Watchmen motion comic, which I don't know if you've ever seen that.
Oh, yes.
But that is trash.
It is
That is trash.
boring.
I'm sorry.
And
trash.
Watchmen is long in the first place. So then to watch it at that pace, like even slower than what you would read it, is crazy.
The thing that really bothered me about that is they couldn't even be bothered to cast actors in it. They just have one person doing all the voices.
Yes, no, it's like an
It's an
audio
book, but with pictures.
Yep.
It's so horrible. It's not worth your time at all. But the Red Son, you're right. Red Son should be animated because it's fantastic. What do you got next?
Next on my list is Jeff Loeb.
Nice. He was on one of my honorable mentions. Love him.
Jeff Loeb did Superman for All Seasons, which is a great Superman
Sublime.
story. It was actually kind of the Superman story that you would give to people before All-Star Superman. Like, if they needed like a "this is why Superman's great"
primer
kind of book,
on Superman.
Yeah, this is why Superman's great. Here you go, Man for All Seasons.
Yep.
Superman for All Seasons.
Yep.
Play for a Man for All Seasons.
Exactly.
He does not get his head cut off at the end.
But for whales. And he doesn't... this book was one of the things that they used as a template for Smallville.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. When Al Gough and Miles Miller were pitching the show, they used this as like the template of like the temperament for their Superman and all of that.
Hot diggity.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, cool, right?
I said hot diggity in a sentence.
You did. And then Jeff Loeb became a producer on that show for many years.
Oh, yeah, that makes a lot of sense now. That makes a lot of sense. To continue on the Jeff Loeb train.
Yes.
Superman, Batman,
of course,
the series,
yes,
is not strictly speaking just a Superman story,
but he wrote a whole bunch of Superman.
But he wrote so much Superman in that book, and that Superman is the best.
It's so great
because I think the interplay. I always like when Superman and Batman are on screen together because somebody like Jeff Loeb really gets the core of their friendship.
Both of them.
They're not just allies. They're not just teammates. They're really friends, but they're so diametrically opposed in so many ways. But he gets them so well.
I completely agree with you.
There's a scene in Public Enemies in which, Superman is shot by Metallo with the kryptonite bullet.
Yep.
And they're trying to make their way back to the Batcave through the sewer.
Yeah.
And Superman asks why don't the good villains die? And Batman's like, Clark, what the hell are good villains? And that little scene to me is so Superman.
It's very emblematic.
Yeah. And so I'm 100% for Jeff Loeb.
Yeah.
Jeff Loeb's a great writer, period.
Yeah.
But he really gets those characters in a way that maybe he doesn't write the other ones as well.
Okay. Yeah.
But and that's it's like a weird thing to say because he writes them all well.
Yeah, but I understand.
But he really gets Superman and Batman. So
he nails those two so hard, like so well. Yeah, for sure. No, Jeff Loeb definitely belongs on this list. And then he wrote stuff for the actual Superman title for a little. I mean, like Emperor Joker, he wrote.
Yep, that's right. War of the.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. It was around that same period, the early 2000s.
Yeah, it's like a big chunk story. Ed McGuinness was an
Our
artist.
World's at War?
Our World's at War.
Our World's at War, yeah. Yeah. So he's pretty seasoned on the character. Emperor
absolutely.
Joker is pretty good. If
I don't think I've ever read Emperor Joker.
Really? It's interesting. It's a really cool, like, it's cool to have, like, Superman and Batman and Joker in one. It's an interesting sort of, yeah. It's different, but it's interesting. It's been a long time. It's like more than 10 years since I last read it, so it's a little fuzzy in some of the details, but I remember liking it a whole lot.
Joker and Mxyzptlk, right?
I think so, yes.
Cal Tipsy's him?
Yep.
Yeah.
I think so.
Cool. What's next on your list?
Grant Morrison next, so that brings me to my last of my 5, and that is Mark Waid.
Me too!
Yay!
We did it!
So we had like 4 of the same 5 or something? Except
we
for Tomasi and Jurgens?
We had 3 out of 5,
okay,
both
cool.
of us.
Cool.
And we somehow ended on the same person.
That's so funny. Yeah. So Birthright is my main thing for Mark Waid.
And Kingdom Come.
And Kingdom Come, of course. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Birthright, especially right when it was coming out, got a lot of crap.
Yeah.
So it was supposed to be the new, as it was being released, it was like, oh, we are like retconning Superman's origin story. Here's the new origin story.
Right.
Basically, the continuity had been messed up so much they were like, okay, we're gonna write a new
Here's your new definitive version.
New definitive origin story that like happened before all the stuff you've been reading in the comics today. And Birthright was really good and really interesting. It was different.
A lot of the film Man of Steel takes its cues from Birthright.
Yes. Just the idea of having Clark be a reporter in, was it the Amazon or like in the jungle?
He was in Africa.
It was in Africa. Again, it's been like 10 years since I've read it, so forgive me. But in the jungle, like being like embedded, assignment reporter for years. And having that whole like background.
Yeah, I think he's actually in a couple. So you might be right because I'm pretty sure he's in a couple of different places, but he's around the world in that way. But I like that so much as opposed to him showing up out of college or whatever, being like, I'm gonna go work for the Daily Planet.
Right?
No, you're not.
No, he does. He pays his dues. It stresses that he's a reporter, like just as much as Lois is, because I think that gets thrown to the wayside sometimes. Where like Lois is the hard nosed reporter, and Clark also likes to write.
Right, Clark does it because he can hear the news and what's happening and stuff. But he actually doesn't need the Daily Planet, current Superman status with powers, doesn't need the Daily Planet to know what's happening in the world.
Right. 50s Superman maybe, like the 30s Superman, that made sense.
Right.
But now, that's not like a necessary
He can hear anything at any point across the world. He doesn't need the Daily Planet to be Superman. He needs it because it's his other way of helping people.
Yes. So I love that. I just don't think the story was very much appreciated at the time because people were just like, I don't know, I guess it was different, and they didn't like that it was different. And so pretty quickly DC backed off from it being the new official origin story, and they're like, never mind, there's a new one coming eventually, and that's when we got Secret Origin from Jeff Johns like 5 years later or something.
It was way more than 5 years later.
Was it more?
Yeah, check. That's your one look.
That's my one look up. All right.
Secret Origin. Because Birthright came out before we were reading comics, I think.
Birthright was what?
And then Secret Origin came out while Jeff...
04. Birthright was 04. So you're right. Yeah. Well, wait.
It was 04? Really?
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was older.
It wasn't
than that. That's crazy.
No, it's not that old. I remember when I read it, it hadn't been out for that long. And then 2010 was Secret Origin. So 6 years later.
6 years. That's not a lot.
And actually, it started in 09, so it was 5 if you count that way.
Wow, you're right. That's not a lot.
It wasn't a long time later. I remember that the debate was still raging in like the DC Comics forums and stuff about like, do you like Birthright or not? Because I used to read the forums back when the creators used to comment on the forums.
Yeah, they don't do that anymore.
Nope.
I mean, technically they comment on Twitter now.
Yeah,
so
sure.
It's not that much different.
But it was like in this insular place where we were all just talking about the books. Like Jeff Johns would pop in and be like, "Yeah, no, that was what I was thinking for issue number 6."
I love when people do that.
I know, it's so cool. But yeah, so I feel like Waid got a lot of crap on Birthright, but it's a really good story. And Kingdom Come,
tremendous story.
One of the biggest works in the whole history of DC Comics. And it's an Elseworld story, but it's one of the most significant stories to ever come out. I mean, Mark Waid writing, Alex Ross doing all the art. Like,
I think that might have been one of Alex Ross's first like full length feature. I think Marvel.
I was just saying
came out.
Marvel's
first.
might have been first, and then Justice. I'm not sure if Kingdom Come or Justice.
Justice was in the 2000s.
Okay,
because I was reading comics when that was coming out.
Okay,
because I have some of the individual issues.
Got it.
But
Kingdom Come was
96.
Yeah. So that was, you're right. That probably was an early one for him because Marvel's might have been like 94, 95. So probably his first DC work, or one
might
of them.
be. It might be his first feature
full length, not just like covers.
I haven't read it in so long. I
haven't either.
should read it again. Last time I read it, I probably didn't even know all of the characters that were in it.
I probably didn't understand it fully at the time.
Like, I didn't
enjoyed
get
it.
that Billy Batson just looked like Shazam.
Oh,
Like adult Billy Batson is just Captain Marvel. That's
right,
what he looks
right.
like.
Yes.
So he just, when he says Shazam, his costume, his clothes change, but that's it.
Yeah,
his face doesn't. Yeah, I didn't get that because I didn't know who Captain Marvel was.
Right.
So I should go back and read it again. You said you had some honorable mentions.
I do have some honorable mentions. Yes.
Do you have any last thoughts on Kingdom Come?
It's fantastic, and everyone needs to read it if you're a DC fan.
Right.
That's it. Okay. Well, right now, Brian Michael Bendis. I'm really enjoying his work
I think
right now.
every issue. I didn't love Man of Steel. I thought it was a good kind of like primer, but it didn't feel very Bendis-y to me.
It didn't feel very complete to me.
No.
It felt like a 6-issue
prequel.
Well, it felt like just 6 issues of Action Comics, like kind of ripped from the midstream of a story on either end of it. It didn't feel like it had a beginning, middle, and end. It was just like a storyline happening in the run of Action Comics, something like that.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
But I enjoyed it a whole lot, and the only reason I put him on honorable is because like it's still too soon to know like what his
it's too soon to tell
era is going to be.
I agree, but I think he's becoming more comfortable as we go.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I had Loeb on here. Brian Q. Miller. I really enjoy Brian Q. Miller, and he wrote like a bunch of the best episodes of the last like 3 seasons of Smallville, and then he wrote the season 11 comic,
which was really good.
It was really good. It's
my favorite season of Smallville.
I understand. It was a really, really good. So I think he deserves it just for that, because in season 11 he was writing Superman.
That's
Superman
right.
By that point, so
right, but he was writing Smallville's Superman, which is it's a distinct Superman.
Exactly.
And I really enjoyed it. I actually meant to go back a long time ago and actually reread it.
That is worth a reread. I haven't read it since it was coming out.
Yeah,
2011.
It's a lot because it's a weekly.
Right. Yeah, right. It was weekly.
So
I miss those digital weekly. The Adventures of Superman that was coming out in like 2012, 2013, whatever.
You need to read Injustice then.
Yeah, you told me this.
It's the best Justice League book on the market right now.
Yeah, that's what you said.
It's so good.
All right. I will.
Okay.
I'll
it
binge
made
on
me
it.
like Booster Gold, Frank.
Wow, and I love Booster Gold already, and you don't like Booster Gold.
It made me like Booster Gold.
All right, now that's a selling point right there.
All right.
I have a trip coming up, so maybe I'll read that on the plane.
Okay.
And then my last one is Kurt Busiek.
Yeah, he's good.
Specifically for Superman's Secret Identity.
Yeah,
and that's the book that I was going to say that knocked Mark Miller knocked Busiek off the main 5 list because Secret Identity is not really a Superman book.
Yep. It's a great book though.
Oh, it's a beautiful. I've had it actually sitting on my iPad. I've been meaning to reread it for like weeks now, and it's been sitting there. And
I understand.
I'm gonna read it when the next chance I get. But Superman's Secret Identity is a fantastic. Like that could be a movie. It's such a beautiful story of a kid whose name is Clark Kent, and he like gets teased for it all the time, and he like hates. In this world, Superman comics exist. And he hates
Superman doesn't,
but Superman comic books exist, and so he gets teased for being named Clark Kent his whole life, and he hates Superman because he's like hates this that he gets teased for it, and then he slowly starts to get Superman's powers in real life, and he has to like deal with all the repercussions of like becoming super as like a teenager. He's in high school, and I'm telling you, it's different than any other. It's different than a Spider-Man story. It's different than any other teenage superhero story. It's a beautiful piece of work. It's like a love letter to Superman. It's
excellent.
It was like very moving for me. I really, really, really enjoyed it.
They're doing a Batman one right now,
like a Batman Secret Identity.
Yeah, it's not called that,
but it's that idea.
But it's that idea.
That's cool.
It actually takes place in Boston.
Oh, cool.
And the artists really did their research. I knew it was Boston before they said it was Boston.
Nice. That's
I was
great.
like, wow, that looks like Back Bay. That's crazy. And then a couple, they're like, oh, blah, 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 Boston. And I was like, wow,
nice.
that's awesome. It's really good. It's different.
Yeah.
It's different. It's not like the kid decide his name's not Bruce Wayne.
Okay.
It's like Bruce Wayneland or something like.
So it's
like
similar.
It's close.
Yeah.
But it's not like he dresses up as Batman. It's it's a totally different twist. But it's really good. So if you like Superman Secret Identity, I recommend the Batman one.
Awesome.
I don't think it's done yet. I think there's one more issue left.
Okay. But it started coming out though.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm pretty sure it's 4 issues
Great.
and there's 3 done.
I'm gonna want to check that out.
Cool.
I'm definitely gonna check that out. That sounds great.
Cool.
Yeah. These books are also great.
Indeed they are.
Talked about so many wonderful stories today.
And I think we pretty much wrapped it up too.
I think so.
We did the good stuff.
I think so. I think we did pretty good.
I think so too. So we can find each other
on the interwebs.
At beerwithgeeks.com and Facebook and Gmail and Twitter. You can check out all other Thought Bubble audio shows at thoughtbubbleaudio.com. You can rate and review us on iTunes and find us on all other places that podcasts can be found on the interwebs. And you can find Frank in real life coming up quite soon.
Yeah, just a few days from when this show comes out. Stark Expo Live. Actually, if I'm timing this out right, it'll be tomorrow, I think, ? Yeah, I think it'll be tomorrow as of this comes out. September 1st. If you're in Dragon Con, come hang out with us. We will be at Switch Yards, Downtown Club. You can buy tickets at the door if you want. Come on in, hang out with us. Brian Austin Green's going to be there. It's a live night of podcasting for charity. It's all for a good cause. So come check it out with us tomorrow.
Come check it out.
Come hang. September 1st.
Cool. All right, well then, we can do this actually in person. So
yes, we can. So until next time,
cheers.